Hey everybody, Andrew Zimmern here, and today I'm going to be showing you two different preparations for Japanese Wagyu. And I'm actually going to show you two different techniques for cooking it using the exact same pan. I have a small cut, a little square here that I took from the sirloin. I'm going to use that for Japanese tataki. And then I have a larger block here that I have cut from the ribeye, center of the ribeye, and we're going to cook that reversed sear. First thing that I want to do is I want to get my sauces done for you. I have my soy sauce. Add that to the cup measure. My mirin, rice wine vinegar, lemon juice, ginger slices, my kombu, which is seaweed, shaved, smoked, dried skipjack tuna or bonito. So we have everything in that mixture, and stick this in the refrigerator for at least 12 hours, preferably overnight. When it comes out, it looks like this. You can actually see the kombu here has rehydrated itself. All of the flavors of the acids have mellowed. And all I'm going to do is strain that because I don't want the solids there. This is a beautiful ponzu sauce that's all ready to go for our tataki. For the seared beef with the mustard greens, I want to make a miso sauce. Just going to lower this temperature to maintain just a slight simmer. And into the bowl that I'm setting over the simmering water, I'm going to put my sake and mirin. I'm adding my soy sauce. I'm adding a little bit of instant dashi. This is dashi no moto. I've got Japanese mustard powder, but any mustard powder will do. Sugar. Egg yolks. And then I'm going to add my blonde miso. Now, when I'm doing this dish, I want to make sure that I'm buying plain blonde miso, not one that's flavored. And you can see here we have a pretty loose mixture. It's going to tighten up ever so slightly as we cook this miso sauce over this hot water bath until it reaches about 160, 170 degrees and those eggs set. You will be able to smell and taste as you're cooking and see the sauce tighten up. And the great thing about this sauce is that you can't overcook it. So now we're gonna start to reverse sear our larger cut of beef from the ribeye. And we do that in a cold pan. I have a cast iron skillet. I'm going to turn it on to a very, very, very low setting. I'm going to season. I don't wanna put any pepper, and I just place that right in the center of the pan. The smaller piece of beef, I'm gonna salt. I'm gonna add some sesame seeds there. If you come up here, you can actually see the heat is starting to come up into our pan. I can feel it. I have it on a very low setting. But I can actually see right where the meat is touching the pan that it's starting to liquidize just a little bit. The surface fat that's touching the pan is actually rendering. So you don't need, if you have a well-seasoned cast iron skillet or a well-seasoned carbon steel pan, you don't need to put any fat or oil or anything into the pan because the Wagyu's got so much fat in it, it's not gonna stick. We turn that over and you can see that it's turned gray. We've been cooking this for about 3-4 minutes per side. Now that the pan has been on the stove for about 8 minutes, even over a low setting, you can see here at the edge some very gentle liquid coming out of the steak. That's fat. So now that this has been cooking for about 13-14 minutes, I think it's ready to crank up the heat. And so I'm gonna put this all the way up to high. I'm gonna take my smaller cut of Wagyu here and put it right next to it. Okay, I can see by the smoke and the smell that my beef is ready to turn. You can see here, I've got a beautiful crust on there, both on my small piece. I'm not gonna cook it very long at all. Just a crust on the outside is all it takes. This other piece of beef has warmed up all the way through. We're still gonna be serving that, you know, maybe just north of medium rare. So I just killed the heat on that. I'm gonna let this big piece rest here. Take my smaller piece of meat there. Okay, so while the beef is resting, for our tataki, I just want just enough ponzu to coat the bottom. Take another spoon. This is toasted sesame oil. And then I have another oil here. This is toasted sesame oil infused with chilies. This sauce is very strong. You don't need much of it. I'm going to take my mustard green, place that right next to it. And now the star of this dish. And I'm just going to slice this very thin. I want it to stay together, not paper thin. And then place these slices super, super simple. And you can see with the reverse searing, you can see that we have that uniform texture. Unbelievable. And here is our tataki. I'm just gonna slice it the same way. You'll see it's just a little more rare. And I'm just gonna lay these down on top of our sauce. Chive with every bite of beef that has, I'm just gonna put a little bit around the edge, really seasoning the oil with it. 2 different beef preparations, 2 different cuts of Wagyu, 1 pan, simple, easy, elegant, and respecting, I think, the great traditions of Japanese cooking, shot through the prism of an American chef.